Now we are about to start. Welcome, everyone. My name is Daniel, and today we have the birth chart masterclass. So, what is your birth chart? This is a very interesting topic. This is actually what got me into astrology, understanding yourself. The birth chart is that blueprint of your soul in the moment of your birth. And from the perspective of karmic astrology, of the moment of your reincarnation, understanding your birth chart, it's an amazing tool that like throughout your life can give you plenty of guidance into whatever is that you're living, that you're about to live, that you have lived, or just about you, your personality, your different traits. In this class, we will jump very fast from the signs, the planets, the houses to get to the core of this class. That is understanding how to decode your chart. In the future, I'm going to be doing more specific classes about the zodiac signs, the houses, the planets, different placements, the astrologic aspects, and so on. Because probably you've noticed if you're here and you're interested in astrology, this is such a vast topic with subtopics and sub themes that, of course, in 1 hour or 1 hour and a half or 2 hour class would be very hard to grasp. So we're going to focus on how to understand your birth chart with the most important things: your sun, your moon, your rising sign, and your nodes of karma. And like the purpose of this class is also for you to start like seeing your chart and understanding, okay, this is here, this is there, and how to see something as a whole instead of just as a series of patterns. So probably if you follow CoStar or the pattern or so many web pages that gives you little like horoscopes, you've noticed like there's this pattern for this, there's this pattern for that, and sometimes they feel like very broken apart. So the idea of the birth chart is how these patterns intertwine, and that is what makes us unique, because yes, we may have very similar patterns that many other people, especially the people that were born in the same sign or the moon sign that we have, but the mix of our patterns and how they connect and how they overlap is what makes us unique. So with this introduction, let's start the class. If you see anyone logged in, also you can let me know, because with Zoom I don't see anything. With Zoom on my iPad, I don't know why I can't see anything else than my presentation. Anyway, first we need to understand what are we talking about. Astrology is a very ancient practice, and it is said that like the beginning of society also began with the beginning of understanding the stars. First, like the main star, our star, the sun, when the sun comes out, and what the things that we can do, and also what the sun gives us is the seasons, when to plant a seed, when to harvest the crop, and so on. So we've been looking at the stars from such early ages. And this is a study of how these celestial bodies influence our human lives. And there are different types of astrology. We're going to focus on Western astrology with a tropical zodiac. When I give the class of the zodiac itself and the 12 sign, I will go deeper into this part. But now we're gonna like go forward into what we came to the birth chart. So the relevance is like, especially the last few years, we've been going into this self-discovery, self-inquiry journey. And this is why astrology has been taking a lot of importance in our culture right now, because it becomes this amazing tool for us to understand ourselves, but also to understand what is going on. A lot of people, including me, it's like one of the things that catches us in astrology. Is like, okay, there is a full moon, that's why I'm being feeling like this, or the moon is moving through the sign, or there's this like situation, like a Pluto square. And for me, it gives sense to what we are living. And with understanding, I think it's easier for us to calm down, to say it's okay, it's not just me, it's the universe. What we have to understand about also astrology is that it's not like it's the planet's fault what we're living. We're in resonance to them. We are in the like multiverse, that we're connected to a macrocosmos from the microcosmos. So studying the macrocosmos, that is like the planets, the solar system, helps us understand our own personal microcosmos. So it's not like because you have the moon, you are like this. No, it's because we are in resonance to that, and we were born under the sun here or under the moon there. This represents this for us, and it's something for us to understand and go deeper into that understanding, instead of using this tool to judge, because this is this. As astrologers, baby astrologers, or astrology practitioners, we need to understand we cannot place like a strict judgment into things, because astrology is very open. Astrology is something that feeds on life itself, because it talks about different aspects of life: mythology, psychology, philosophy, sometimes economy, sometimes health. So the more you know about life, it also grows your understanding in astrology. And nothing is really conditioned. It's something that really broadens your understanding of different things when you can understand it through a bigger system than ourselves. So your birth chart then becomes this snapshot of the sky, of the planets, in the exact moment of your birth. And there we'll see planets, signs, houses, aspects, and so on. And this will be then your compass, the map that you can use first to understand yourself, but then also to understand your purpose, understand your path, understand the challenges ahead. Think as this is your Google Maps, and it really is like, okay, this planet is going to do this in this house. Eventually, we'll get to that understanding. But then you make sense, okay, this day might not be the best for this. Or lately I've been feeling this way. And then you see your chart and you see what's going on. I was like, okay. Or if you're having like a very important transit for transformation, for instance, a Pluto transit, and you're like, wow, that's why I've been feeling like this. That's why I've been challenged to transform myself. So again, it's not about telling this is going to happen, but this tool is helping me understand what might happen and how to use that information in order for it to have like a better outcome, for me to have like a swifter process through that challenge, and potentially to guide me into my life path. So it's an amazing tool, and I'm pretty sure that's why you are here. So first, we have the zodiac signs. I'm just sorry. I think, I'm not sure if there's someone in the, okay, yes. Okay, we were talking about your birth chart, the snapshot of the sky at the moment of your birth, and how this becomes your personal compass. And a lot of people might think that, okay, I've read my chart once, that's enough. And for a part, yes, because when you know your chart, you can know a lot of things. But the deeper you go into astrology, you will notice that this is a compass for you to use your whole life. That's why I always encourage people to look at your own chart, and not from a series of patterns, but as like the whole perspective, to remind ourselves that we are one unit. And the more you look at your chart, the more you understand it, like what your sun is, what your moon does, and then what the transits are planets in movement through your chart, are doing. So then it becomes this like Google Maps for yourself. Um, and it's like a life journey. As an astrologer, you never really stop studying because astrology keeps growing with things that are happening right now, with how society evolves. And also, there's a lot of things that we've never lived as a collective, and there are some that no one alive has experienced. The last time, for instance, that Pluto was in Aquarius, no one right now alive experienced that. We have books of history, but we're in a different time in history with different technology and also with different planets in the sky. So when you read like an astrology post, or when you listen an astrologer in TikTok and Instagram and they say this is gonna happen, it's like we always have to question that, because a lot of the things, like we have the idea of this might happen, but it's something that we collectively will understand, especially towards things next year, 2025. This just heads up, it's going to be a very interesting year. And this is going to be for another class, because we will see planets moving into signs that they've never been at the same time together in those signs in our history, not just the people of being alive right now, but like in human history. So that's going to be very interesting, very unique. We can make a lot of hypotheses, suppositions, but in reality, we will only see it when it happens. And when it happens, we can understand it with astrology, and that will broaden our understanding of astrology itself. That's why astrology keeps growing, because like you see it in the news, you see it in astrology, and then you understand a different layer of it. That's why it's so vast and so interesting, and how you can apply it to anything. A birth chart is not just your personal birth chart, it's the birth chart of anything. That means that you can have the birth chart of when you move into a place, of when you start working for a company, of when you sign a contract, of when you start, basically of when anything starts, when you start a relationship, when you get married, um, and so on, when you get for instance, a pet. That's why like there are some astrologers that specialize on that say like the entering of a pet into your household can potentially like help, or not help, don't help so much to the life of the family. But that's another story. So then you're gonna actually get the birth chart of anything. And that's why event astrology is very interesting. This is the time and day that is the best case scenario for you to move into this house. Or if you have like a range of days of signing this contract, this could be the best day. So after this class, I would encourage you to start getting the birth chart of anything. Okay, when did I move to this house? Or when did I started this project? And it will be interesting, because that moment, that blueprint, that snapshot of the sky can give you a lot of information of the thing that you're trying to understand. The most important birth chart would be, of course, the one that you have for yourself, because uh, you're the hero of your story. So the more you understand yourself and the more you understand your compass, the better you can guide yourself into your purpose and growth. Okay. First, we're gonna go through the zodiac. The zodiac is there are constellations. We have like 12 zodiac signs, 12 constellations, and the earth is moving through these constellations around the sun. And the zodiac is a wheel. The zodiac wheels comes from zodiac, that like zoo, it's animal, the ag, wheel is like the wheel of animals. Like this comes from Hellenistic astrology, that they studied how the sun was moving through this like wheel of animals. And of course, there are a lot more constellations in the sky, because some of you might ask, what about Ophiuco? What about this? And I was like, is that a new zodiac? It's actually no, those constellations were always there, but they were never part of what was considered the zodiac. That goes from Aries to Pisces, the beginning and the end. So the zodiac is, it's a story. You know, everything in astrology is connected to, especially mythology. So if you are very interested in astrology, you can like start like going deeper into mythology, and mythology will always give you like an answer, because everything is like in resonance to the myths from the Greeks, like from from the planets, especially to the signs, you know. And here we will go like through the story that the zodiac was, this the wheel of life, and the wheel of life that starts at the beginning with Aries and ends with Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac. Um, Aries is the sign that is Aya. It's a fire sign, you know, so it's the beginning. Fire, we have four elements in astrology. Fire is the element of creation, of willpower, of the spirit. Then we have earth, that is the like the physical. Then we have air, which is the mind, and then we have water, which is feelings. And if you notice around the zodiac, um, we have always first a fire sign, followed by an earth sign, followed by an air sign, followed by a water sign, and then it will repeat again and again and again. You know, because it's like first the fire, then the earth, then the air, then the water. We also have two polarities in the universe, that is the masculine and the feminine polarities. The masculine is the yang energy, and it's not about energy, it's about the expression of the energy. Yang energy is more outward, it's more impatient, it's more direct, it's more like dynamic. Yin energy, feminine, is more receptive, it's more intuitive, it's calm, you know. So fire and air is yang, and water and earth is yin. Just by understanding that, you can also understand uh, some of the characteristics of the signs. You know, the characteristics being a yang energy sign will be very outward, dynamic, explosive, or of a yin sign would be more introverted, tendency of like receptivity, calmness. Not always, because then we'll see how your chart is a mix of everything. So we start with the beginning. And Aries is I am. These are the mottos for every sign that will help us understand how this wheel of life works. Aries, the first one, the beginning, is fire, it's cardinal, it's the energy of huge new beginnings. So that energy ruled by Mars is when we start, is the head, is it's that super impatient, dynamic, empowered, independent energy. This will be correlated, and what later we will see, with the first house. Whatever touches the first degree of Aries, this is the most important degree of the zodiac, because it's the beginning of the zodiac. So it will talk about huge new beginnings. So after beginning, after Aries can be when we are born. Aries can be when we are a child. And then Taurus. Taurus is a half, you know. Taurus is a sign of stability, is a sign of being grounded, of money, of value, you know. So After beginning, we need to stabilize things. We need to ground ourselves. But Taurus can be also a sign that is a bit more stubborn, a bit more fixed. Aries, on the other hand, might be like super dynamic, like I start. So, but first we need to start, then we need to stabilize things. And then comes Gemini. Gemini is the first mutable energy sign. A mutable energy is the energy of adaptability, is the energy of change, and air is about the mind. So that's why Gemini's natural energy is curiosity. Is I think. If we think this from the perspective of like society, like Aries is like we're fighting, we're nomads. Then Taurus is like we start like collecting, gathering. Gemini is like we start like creating a language. We start understanding. We're curious to change. We're curious to do something else. Gemini is that energy of the mind, of the expression, of the understanding. But Gemini also can be a very black and white energy, this or that, can be a bit scattered. After Gemini, we have the first water sign, which is Cancer. Cancer is the sign of home, is I feel the first sign of feelings. Is like the water fountain, where the feelings come out. It's the base, is the roots, is the past, is the nostalgic energy, is where we come from. It's our home, is that nurturing energy, that soft feminine feeling, that motherly feeling. Is the sign of the moon. But it's also a sign that says it feels so much, might tend to take things very personal. They might close down like a crab. Then we have Leo. Again, after water, we have fire. And Leo is I will, is the willpower, is the sun. Our sun, we will see later, is our willpower. It's the energy of creativity, of the heart, of romance, of the inner child. Leo is that sign that shines. But the other side of Leo is that, again, and this is quite a resonance like of with Cancer, that Leo energy also tends to take things very personal. And it's interesting because, of course, the sign of the sun and the sign of the moon, that are like our primary luminaries, like then they talk about us, and these are the signs that tend to take things more personally. So Leo's that energy of creation, of romance, of drama. And after we creating, falling in love, playing, we need Virgo. Virgo is the sixth sign of the zodiac. It's I analyze. Virgo is called the spine of the zodiac because it's in the middle of the zodiac. It's the sign of order, of routine, of processes, of health, of the body. That's why Virgo, we can see Virgo energy in anything. The step-by-step routine, what we do daily, how we take care of ourselves, how we treat our body. That's why that Virgo energy analyzes what is good and what is not so good. And that's the other side of Virgo, that is a very critical sign. So Virgo, it's at the middle part of the zodiac. That's why it's called the spine of the zodiac, because it holds everything together. It's the sign of the body, it's the sign of the vessel, and it's the sign that like holds everything. And from the Kabbalistic perspective, it's a sign that creates reality, because it's so detail oriented that is the only one that was really capable of creating such detailed reality. The first part of the zodiac, it's in a way very personal. It's me, Aries, what I have, Taurus, how I think, Gemini, how I feel, Cancer, what I want, Leo, how I do things, what I analyze my work, Virgo. The second part of the zodiac is a bit more social. If you notice this chart, and this is one of the things we'll start noticing, is that the bottom part of the zodiac becomes more personal, becomes more our daily things for us. The upper part of the zodiac, that is the sky above, it's something that is connected more to others, to our purpose, to what we give for others, something that expands. These next 6 signs are the opposite of these ones. So Libra is the opposite of Aries, Scorpio is the opposite of Taurus, Sagittarius is the opposite of Gemini, Capricorn is the opposite of Cancer, Aquarius is the opposite of Leo, and Pisces is the opposite of Virgo. So in reality, the opposite signs that sometimes might feel really different, in reality, they are the ones that are really the other side of the coin. So they have a strong resemblance. That's why if you have like a predominance of one sign, the other sign on the other side might either feel like a brother, like a twin, like a best friend, like a partner that you always connect, or like an enemy, like someone that challenges you. So depends on the other aspects, of course, but there is this like duo dynamic. Usually the other side, it's not a sign that goes unseen because it's always holding a mirror to this sign. So the 7th sign of the zodiac, Libra, it's a balance, but it's a sign of relationships, it's a sign of partnerships, it's a sign of Venus, it's a sign of connections, it's a sign of harmony, it's a yang energy that is masculine, it's air that is like, it's very mental, but it tends to be recognized as a very feminine sign because it's the sign of Venus. Here, Aries is the sign of Mars, Libra is the sign of Venus, and they're in opposite dynamics, So a lot of people might think that Aries and Libra are very different, but in reality, they are very much the same. It's just like Aries is very outward, expressive, direct, and Libra is very diplomatic, but unconsciously is very competitive, or more like below the surface. It's very competitive. It's also very dominant. Everything has to be perfect. They can also be very impatient or very controlling. Aries might be very childish. You can see it. Libra, you need some time to see it because they always like put a strong sense of self. But in reality, it's the same energy. It's I and it's we. This is the axis of relationships. Since last year, we've been moving through the eclipses in Aries and Libra. That is the axis of relationships, and wherever eclipses move or where they happen is the strongest dynamic that we are working as the collective. So you probably noticed, yes, since last year, relationships has been the main topic for everyone, whether you are in a relationship or not, because it doesn't really talk about romantic relationships. It can talk about your partnership. It's your one-on-one relationships. It's that people that faces you, can be your lawyer, your therapist, your best friend, your roommate, your partner, your lover, your ex-partner, and so on. So a lot of people think that the house of Libra, that Libra talks about love, and Libra is more about agreements. Is how do we work together? In that case, Leo would be more about love because it's 5th house, it's romance, it's creativity, and 7th house is relationships. Libra is about that. Then we have Scorpio. After Libra, that is like about the form. Then we have Scorpio, that is about the depth. It's like desire, it's what really moves us. It's our psyche, it's our intuition, it's our emotional intensity, it's a sign of transformation, it's a sign that is like very deep, the FBI sign of the zodiac. This is where we see hidden or repressed things. It talks about sexuality, it talks about our psyche, it talks about our inheritances from our family, everything that is repressed. It's also connected to Scorpio. So planets in Scorpio, sign Scorpio, they are very deep. We need a lot of time to break them down to see how many layers. Scorpio, we can talk hours just of Scorpio because it has so much information, because it's one of the signs of secrets. Then after going deep into what we desire, then we have to go up. And this is Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a sign of growth, is a sign of expansion, is the sign of beliefs, is the traveler, the nomad, the explorer, the philosopher, is that sign that's always jumping, there's always more. If you notice, the place that Sagittarius has in the zodiac wheel is one of the highest places. It's the one that is like up and right, always looking into the future, always expanding into something more, always like rushing into something, always in a way escaping reality. Yes, that's Sagittarius. It's fire. That's why it's like pure energy, but also is mutable. That means it can be scattered, it can be like multifaceted, it can be like changing, and this is also about our philosophies, how we grow, how we expand. This moment that after going deep within ourselves, we found something and we found the light. That is like the wisdom, the illumination, Sagittarius. Then after Sagittarius, we have Capricorn. Capricorn is the sign of success. So Capricorn is in opposite of Cancer. So Cancer is home, our roots, our past. Capricorn is what we want to manifest, our career, our public life, our hard work, figures of power. If we can talk about signs that talk about the father and the mother, or our caretakers, where maybe my father was my caretaker, and my mother was like going out, like making the money. The mother has more Capricorn energy, the father has more Cancer energy. But Cancer is home, Capricorn is career success, but they talk about these strong figures in our life. Capricorn talks about that energy of building something that you want to last long. It talks about public image, it talks about reputation, it talks about structure, it talks about your goals, what you want to achieve. Is the sign of Saturn. So after exploring, after traveling, we come back into manifesting. After opening our mind, we need to give structure to something that we want to build. And then we have Aquarius. And Aquarius is, I know, because it's the sign of the mind, it's the sign of the higher mind. It's the sign of community, of groups, of friends, of rebellion, of society, of our like humanitarian aspirations, of our aspirations of society. Probably heard, yes, we are living the age of Aquarius. And really now, when Pluto finally enters Aquarius, we're like really settled into this age of Aquarius that is about community, it's about rebellion, it's about equality. Aquarius, it's in opposition to Leo. Leo is me, look at me. Aquarius is like, no, we, the collective. Leo is, this is the axis of talent, the Leo Aquarius. But Leo is the talent itself, and Aquarius is the talent that is shared to the world. So it's like how I share my talent to the world, how I use my talent. It's not just for me. Leo is what it's the purpose of that talent. And then we have Pisces. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It is the sign of endings. It is the sign of the universe. That's why its motto is I believe. Is that sign that really wants to hold everything together. It's a sign of everything and nothing. It's life itself. That's why it's the opposite of Virgo, because Virgo is the tangible life. And Pisces is the untangible life. It's the universe. Virgo is the body, and Pisces is the soul that is held by the body. This is called the axis of service. So these two signs have this strong energy of service, which on low vibration you have noticed, yes, they also have this strong energy of sacrifice, of sacrificing. You have a lot of planets in Pisces, can be either of evasion or of, because it's the last sign, that like we can see invasive tendencies or addiction, but also sacrifice, evading your own reality to sacrifice yourself for others' realities. So Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. We reach to the last degree of the zodiac, the strongest degrees for endings. That's why when we have a lot of planets in Pisces, it's also about closures. It's about letting go. It's about like changing. It's water, which is very fluid. It's mutable. That is a changing energy. And that's how the zodiac starts again. You know, the first degree of beginnings, the last degree of endings. This part of the zodiac is the most important part of the zodiac, beginnings and endings. And another, like something that's coming up next year. Next year, we have a lot of planets moving from Pisces to Aries and then retrograding back from Aries to Pisces. The whole year, talking about how 2025 is really a life-changing year of huge beginnings, huge endings, but just like not black and white. It's like we try it, we go back. We jump into the water, we go back. That is going to be a really interesting year collectively and personally. So this is the story of the story, the axis of relationships, Aries and Libra, the axis of sustenance, or sometimes they call it survival, like Taurus and Scorpio, the axis of knowledge, that is Gemini and Sagittarius, the axis of career and success, career and home, of purpose, Cancer and Capricorn, the axis of talent, that is Leo and Aquarius, and the axis of service or life itself, also Virgo and Pisces. So I'm just gonna check again if we have someone that has joined the class, or we have, okay, all good. No questions at this moment. We will go forward then we have the planets. The planets, it's how it, if we go back to the zodiac are archetypes, constellations. Sometimes it's like, yes, I'm this sign, you know, and people connect of themselves like to that sign, but we have to understand that the signs are more like concepts. If we can talk about characters, then we'll talk about planets, actually. Now, planets are the characters of the story. They are the ones moving through the constellations. So the constellation will give like a tint, but the character will be the player. No, it's like, for instance, like think about like the planets of the actors of the story. But then the signs in which language, in which way they are playing their character. So then you will start like, for instance, saying like, yeah, I don't know, like Sun is Leo DiCaprio, but he's like doing a Gemini role, which is something whatever. You know, it's like a silly example, but I think you get what you know. So actually, like planets is like an easier energy to understand, especially when we talk about astrology. Who is playing the role of who? You know, when we see dynamics between planets, especially oppositions, which is like one planet is in one sign, another planet is in the opposite sign, is a very interesting moment we can see in our personal dynamic. One part can be playing, I don't know, Moon opposition Mars. So in a story of like in a life story, the moon can be played by someone and Mars can be played by someone else. And you're like, oh yeah, in this story, I feel like the moon. This story is like, then you understand, like these are our characters. They will move through the zodiac and they will start connecting and creating stories as they connect with other planets and as they fall into different areas of our charts. So first we have the sun. The sun is our ego, our vitality, our life force, our core essence. The sun and the moon they're not planets. They're of course, part of the planets, but they are luminaries. They are the ones that really the easier for us to grasp to. Our sun, the self, our moon, the feelings. Wherever we see the sun is our life force, our vitality, our talents, where we shine. Then the moon, on the other hand, is our subconscious, our instincts, our inner emotional needs, what represents home, how we feel, the emotional filter for anything. Then we have Mercury, which is the planet of the mind, communication, curiosity, expression, how we understand things, how we see things, how we communicate things. Where we see Mercury plays is like, oh, this is our style of communication. The sign the Mercury is in, then the house Mercury is in. For instance, someone that is, let's say, Gemini. We've seen Gemini, the sign of communication is the sign of Mercury, and you see their chart, and they are Sun and Mercury in Gemini, and you see like this person should talk a lot. Why don't they say a word? And then you see their chart, and they have it in the 12th house, that is the house of Pisces. Oh, they have a hard time expressing themselves. Oh, they need a lot of personal space. Oh, they don't, or they have it in the 8th house of Scorpio. Oh, they're like very introverted. They don't open up very easily. So then you start like mixing one energy with the other energy, even if you see it in your own chart. Maybe I'm a Leo, but I don't feel like I'm that Leo that wants to dance on the table. Where is the sun? Where, in which house do you have Leo? Then you start like seeing how you connect one information with the other information. Then we have Venus. Everyone loves Venus because Venus is about love, desire, especially where our desire comes from. What we desire is about value, what we give value, beauty, love, harmony. A well-placed Venus talks about our ability to connect, our beauty. Sometimes someone that has been born with Venus very close to the sun can, or in the ascendant, can have a tendency of being nicer looking or being more aware of Venus, of their Venusian energy, of how they move, how they connect, how they are seen. Then we have Mars. Mars is the energy of action, of drive, of impulse, of aggression, of sometimes of passion, how we pursue things, how we act, how we move to things. This part, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, these are called the personal planets. Personal planets are the ones that we use daily. Are like the main characters, that are the ones that are always present. Like in Friends, the ones that you see always, the friends that you see all the time. Usually, like transits from these planets, they're very easily seen, but sometimes they might not be so strong, especially the ones that are very fast, like the moon or Mercury. But slow moving planets that are the rest, their transits sometimes they not might be felt every day, but they are felt through a long period of time, which makes it very interesting to analyze where is that happening in my life. Venus and Mars are also called the cosmic lovers. Venus, how I desire, Mars, how I go to that desire. Then we have Jupiter. The social planets are Jupiter and Saturn that rule society. Jupiter is about laws, Saturn is about norms, the structure of society. Jupiter is another benefic planet that is like Venus, growth, luck, expansions, belief, or higher knowledge, how we want to grow, what pushes us to grow, to expand our life. Then we have Saturn, which is discipline, structure, limits. Saturn is one of the hard ones of the zodiac. It is the planet of physical karma, which means that whatever Saturn, which is the planet of time, we will see it in time repercussions. Things like, or transits with Saturn is not that, yeah, I can get away with this. Usually, no. Usually, it's like, okay, if Saturn has been in a certain place of your chart, or if you have it in a very specific place in your chart and you have not been working with Saturn, which means discipline, responsibility, structure, limits, time, Saturn will eventually come. It's karma. And you see it, sometimes we have like a Saturn transit and people's like, oh, yeah, it was a matter of time that they needed to put their shit together. What happened? Saturn. You probably heard about one of the most important Saturn cycles, the Saturn return, that is around our 30th years of age. It starts even like late 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, even until 32. But especially 29, 30, like very important. And it's that moment that life like slaps us in the face for us to have discipline, for us to manifest something. Then we have Chiron. Chiron is studied more in contemporary astrology, but in my practice, I see it very helpful for understanding a lot of things. It's about healing our wounds, our vulnerability, and the wisdom that it comes after understanding them, after uh, acknowledging them. Sometimes people might be afraid of Chiron because it's like, no, something's going to happen. It's like, we need to see the wound in order to treat the wound, in order to transform it. That's why it's called the wounded healer. Then we have Ceres, that is the mother asteroid, that is about our natural talents, our productivity, our nurturing, abundance, a different abundance than Jupiter, that is more expansion, abundance of something that we can make abundance because it's our natural talent. Then Uranus, the outer planets are more this Chiron, Ceres, but especially Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. These are generational planets, the planets that sometimes people, it's like, yeah, I have like one planet in Scorpio. What? Pluto, like a huge generation of 15 years. Sometimes that as a placement might not be so important, depending of the house where it is. But most likely Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, we have it in very similar places because they are very slow moving planets and they talk about generational dynamics. We can say Gen Z, millennials, this, so Pluto, but before Pluto, sorry, Uranus, innovation, rebellion, change, disruption. The last few years, Uranus has been Taurus, and a lot of things have been going on in Taurus. That's why we've seen a lot of this, of change and disruption. Then we have Neptune, that is the planet of dreams, intuition, spirituality, dissolution, letting go. It's about closure. It's about the highest part of love. This is also the planet of unconditional love. When we see sometimes, oh, their Neptune falls with my moon, and I feel like this thing that I've never felt before since I met them, because like, yeah, Neptune comes like that, like a mirage, like a something greater than life, like a make believe. Then we have Pluto, that is transformation, power, rebirth, death, crisis. Pluto is that planet is so small and like we can barely see it. But when we see it, it's like boom, it's transformative, it's deep, it's intense. When we have a Pluto crisis, Pluto transit, it talks about crisis and a certain area of our life. But crisis is the beginning for what? For transformation. So the biggest Pluto transit that we're living right now is Pluto moving from Capricorn to Aquarius. That is, yeah, a huge crisis in the collective because we're letting go of an old paradigm, the Capricorn paradigm of how things are supposed to work because society dictates or because our parents said that or so on, into the Aquarian mindset. Remember, rebellion, innovation, change. Aquarius is the sign of Uranus. So these are our actors, our planets. This is just like a first glimpse. Another class we will be devoted for just the planets and to see in depth every one of them. Then we have the houses. So by now, you should already start picking up. Okay, there's a story that it's being repeated from signs to planets to houses. Yes, they are all in resonance. The houses, or astrologic houses, are portions of the sky. These portions of the sky talk about areas of life. So we have 12 areas of life that have like different themes. The first house, or the house of the ascendant, is a house of self, appearance, first impression, is a house of Aries. This chart, then later you'll get the slides. So you have them and you can review with more like detail. This chart is very important because here we have where planets feel good. In another class just about planets, we'll see how they are exiled, or where they are domiciled, or they are in exaltation, which means they feel really good. And in houses also happens. We're not going to mention that. We'll just like leave it here for you to start noticing. Of course, Mars feels good in the house of Aries, because they have the same resonance, which is the first house. The first house is me, how I look sometimes, are my appearance, the first impressions. It's the ascendant. Then the second house, that is the house of Taurus, is my money, my worth, my possessions, my wealth, what I have. It's the house of Taurus, it's the house of Venus. Then the third house is the house of communication, learning, siblings, short transits also. This is the house of Gemini. Then we have the fourth house of home, family, roots, my base, where I come from. And this is the house of Cancer. Then we have the fifth house, the house of Leo, of course, creativity, romance, children, the house of the heart, the house of my creative projects, of those things that I love doing. Then the sixth house of work, daily routines, and health, of course, is the house of Virgo. It's what I do daily. This is also the house of pets. This is also the house of my co-workers, the house of my habits, the house of my physical self. The first house would be my physical appearance, how people see me, first impression. But when people know me more on the daily basis, it's like, wow, okay, this, for instance, someone that has Scorpio rising or a Capricorn rising, you see those are like tough signs. As a first impression, first house, they might be kind of intimidating. A lot of people have like Capricorn rising or Scorpio rising. People are like, ooh, I don't know, but maybe they have a sun in Libra and they're super easygoing, and they're like, oh wow, I thought you were completely different. Or maybe they had like a sun in the fifth house and they're super creative and joyful. Or maybe they have like a Gemini rising. Gemini rising, and Gemini rising is super adaptable, super fun, but maybe, and sometimes they might appear even like all over the place, but maybe they have a sun in the sixth house of Virgo. And then you get to know them as like, wow, this person is very organized. They have like everything on point. My first impression was this, but when I get to know them, it was this. Then we have the houses that are in opposition of the first six houses. From the first house of me, the seventh house of my relationships, the seventh house of Libra, the seventh house of Venus. This is the house of partnerships, marriage, one-on-one relationships. And again, going back to what I said with Libra, this is not necessarily the house of love. If we go to the house of love or romance, it will be the fifth house. The seventh house is the house, it can show me, yes, who I can get married with. But remember, getting married, sometimes it's not just about love. It's about a dual dynamic. It's a contract. It's an agreement. It's about like, okay, you give me this, I give you that. It's what are we doing together? So that's why here I can see my very close relationships. My lawyer, I have a lawyer and I talk to them like very often. My ex-partner, if we have kids together, my therapist, if I see them every week, and so on. Then we have the eighth house of Scorpio, is house of transformation, shared resources, sex, sexuality, intimacy. Is a very deep house. It's one of the hidden houses. While the hidden houses 4, 8, and 12, the water houses tend to be hidden, very deep, connected with a lot of feelings. So the house of Scorpio, it's one of the house of secrets, because we don't share this to everyone. When you see a lot of planets in the eighth house, a person might be very private. They might respect a lot of their privacy. They might want a lot of like their time alone. Maybe they have a lot of planets in the first house, and there's a part that it shows very natural to everyone, but also they have for instance, the moon on the eighth house, like but emotionally they're super private. Maybe they have Mercury in the first house and they might say their opinions very easily, but they have the moon in the eighth house. With their feelings, they are very private. And then you start like understanding the different aspects of oneself. Um, then we have the ninth house, that is the house of Sagittarius. This is the house of long travels, philosophy, higher education. If I want to do a PhD, if I want to travel 6 months, if I want to live abroad, this is the house that makes me grow, of aspirations, of like life aspirations. These three houses talk about a bit of aspirations. This is like more life aspirations. This is about career aspirations. This is more about like humanitarian or societal aspirations. So then, after this ninth house of expansion, of more, of moving to a different place, comes the 10th house. The 10th house of career, success, reputation, public life. Transits that happen on the 10th house tend to be very public. This could be if I get married, or if I get divorced, if I get a promotion, or if I get fired also. Something that like, okay, everyone knows that something is going on. That's why when we have eclipses in this axis, 4th and 10th, it's like, okay, we're leaving something very private in our home that nobody's noticing. But what people are noticing is like, oh wow, they got divorced or they got married because they're connected, or they moved to a different place, or they changed jobs. They don't understand that it comes from this for a lot of private things, because this is something that is not necessarily shown to everyone. This is shown to everyone. People having a lot of planets in the 10th house is not that they are successful, but they're ambitious, they're driven to success, or they have a career that is very public. If we make something like they have the sun and Mercury in the 10th house, but they have a lot of planets in the 8th or a lot of planets in the 4th. Yeah, maybe in their career they're very known, they talk to a lot of people, but in their private life, that they know, no one knows who they date, no one knows where they live, but they know about their reputation in their career. So it's like you start mixing things, and very interesting. Then the 11th house of people, the 11th house of Aquarius, of groups of people, of society, of my friendships, my humanitarian aspirations, the talents I want to share to people, to the world, to communities, how my group of friends is, the people that interest me, what I share to them. And then we have the 12th house, that is the last house, the house of endings, of solitude, of isolation, of spirituality, of the universe, of karma, of past lives. This is also the house of when we were in the womb of our mother, of prenatal time, before our birth. So this house, again, like the eighth house and like the fourth house, these are very deep houses. These are houses of secrets. These are houses that have so much information. So when you have a lot of planets in this house, it's part of your karmic journey to unravel, to go into that mystery. There will be a lot of things like, okay, maybe if you have things in Cancer or in the fourth house that you need to understand about your family, or in a Scorpio, or in the eighth house, that you need to understand about what you inherit from your family, or about your sexuality, or about your psyche, or about like your hidden patterns, or in the 12th house, about what your mother lived before your birth, or about your past lives, or about like things that you're meant to develop in this lifetime. So they're very, very interesting houses. Um, so with this, we finish the houses. The most important axis or like cross, let's say, in the houses are this cross from the first to the seventh, from the fourth to the 10th. This is the cardinal cross of life. First house, me. Seventh house, my relationships. Fourth house, where I come from. 10th house, where I want to go. That's why this is the AC ascendant, the IC immune coeli, the DC the descendant, and the MC the mid heaven. So this axis, we all have it, and will always, for anyone, regardless if you have planets or not in those houses, will be the most important cross in anyone's life, because who you are, who you relate to, where you come from, and where you go to. Okay. Now we will go deeper into the most important things that we'll see a bit deeper into this class, to jump straight to the charts. And once again, I'm gonna see if someone has logged in. Nobody yet. Okay. Okay. First, we have the sun. The sun, we can recognize it. People call it our star sign because it's our star. It's our core self, our identity, our vitality. This is the central focus of the birth chart. Wherever the sun is, it talks about an area that it's very important, that needs to be illuminated. It's connected to our life purpose, our willpower, our creativity, what we came to share. It doesn't matter where the sun illuminates. So even if it's on the 12th house, it means that, okay, I came into this lifetime because my birth chart is my soul's blueprint. I came into this lifetime to illuminate things from my 12th house. The way it expressed is through the zodiac sign it is, and where does where is it expressed? In the house that it is. So with the house and this and the sign, we start like coloring how we approach life. For instance, we have let's say sun in Leo. No, the sun in Leo, we're like, okay, sun, like core self, vitality, Leo, creativity, it's like, so we can think of a person that has like a strong willpower, creation, like openness, and you see them and like, they're not so like that. Or if you're that person and you don't feel like that person, like super outgoing, that takes presence, then you see, they have the sun maybe in the fourth house. They have the sun maybe in the eighth house or in the 12th house. Or they have sometimes the sun next to Saturn, that is a planet of limits, or the sun next to Neptune, that is a planet of the 12th house, that is a planet of dissolution also. It's like, oh, then you understand. It's not just the sun, what is the sun doing? In which sign? Where? And that helps us understand about this vitality, that thing that we came to share. This will be one of our three main points of looking at the chart. The sun. Then we'll see the moon. The moon represents our emotions, our instincts, our subconscious. The sun also represents our father, and the moon represents our mother. Or sometimes the person who played as our father and the person who played as our mother. Whether it's like the again, like the example of like, no, my mom was the one with the career, and she was like giving the structure to the family, but my dad was like not part of the picture, or my dad was like a super stay at home dad. You have to always see it from the perspective of the native, of the person that you're seeing. In this case, it can be yourself, like, okay, but the sign that the sun and the moon is can also talk about the dynamic between your parents, or from the perspective of genealogic astrology, it can also represent the expectations your parents had, the unconscious expectations, the conscious and unconscious, conscious sun and conscious moon expectations that your parents had from you, in the moment that you were born. So the moon represents our inner needs, our habits, our emotional reactions, how we emotionally regulate. Um, what does this mean? It's like, okay, what we need to be at peace in our heart. For instance, I have the moon in Gemini. Gemini communication, moon feelings, emotional regulation. Okay, I need to express my feelings. I need to understand my feelings. I need to inquiry about my feelings. That's why if you have a moon in Gemini, you've probably learned, yeah, I need to say things. I need to talk it out. I need to say to my best friend, to just like burst it out. And then I understand it, us that we have in moon in Gemini or moon in air, because air is also about communication. This could be moon in Libra, moon in Aquarius, moon in Gemini. We need to understand our feelings. We need to talk about our feelings. We need to question our feelings. We need to make sense of our feelings. When you have the moon in water, you just need to feel your feelings. And sometimes you need to isolate yourself from reality to feel your feelings. Moon in earth, you need stability. Earth, remember, stability, moon feelings, moon inner world, your subconscious, your instincts, or your emotional regulation. It's like, okay, moon in Taurus, I need to have my stability. I need to eat. I need to, moon in Virgo, I need to take care of my body. Moon in Virgo, I need to feel productive. Or moon in Capricorn, I need to feel that I achieved something. I need to feel that I'm accomplishing things. I need to feel that I have control over my life. Or moon in fire. If you have a moon in fire, it is like, okay, fire, creativity, willpower. So this is moon in fire tends to be explosive or needs to release it, depending where the moon is, because maybe I have a moon in Aries, but it's a moon in Aries in the 8th house. And so a hidden house. So I feel a lot, but I don't necessarily express it. So, okay, maybe moon in Aries, I need to work out. It's the first house, it's the house of Mars. So moon in Aries talks about, I need that emotional release. Go run around the park, please express this, show it, shout it, release it. Then this also reveals how you nurture yourself and others, how you process feelings. For instance, when someone becomes a mother or a father, this is the way they're nurtured. This is the way they give back. Like, for going back to my moon in Gemini, the way I nurture sometimes it's like listening to people, like talking to people. It's like, what's up? I talk to so many people daily. Anyway, this is the moon. Then we have the rising sign. The rising sign, your ascendant, is your outward persona, the first impression. To get a rising sign, we need the time of birth. So in the practical part that we're gonna jump in a bit, is about that. It is about getting the exact time of birth, especially to get the rising sign, because this is gonna be the filter from life. This is going to be the filter from which you see life, not just how your sun and moon signs express, how all of your planets express. Like everything will be expressed through your rising sign. That's why it's called an ascendant, because this is something that your soul ascends to be. In a way, your rising sign will also be something that helps you master yourself. In time, for a lot of people, doesn't have to be everyone's case. A lot of people feel more connected to the rising sign than other planets when they keep growing and growing. But it's like a mix and a balance of everything, of your sun, of your moon, and your rising sign. But that's something that the sun and both the moon comes is something that is almost inherited to you. But the rising sign is something that you're gonna ascend in. So sometimes it might feel very new, something that you are learning. You're walking through these shoes. You are seeing life through these lenses, and then you're learning. The sun and the moon will be something that is more natural. You don't have to learn. It's more instinctive, you know. But the rising sign, you start like learning about it, then you start growing on it about it, and then in time it becomes like an instinct, you know, like it's the an energy that comes out even easier. This is our approach to life, our different situations, environments. So, and of course, like the sign or the planets that we have in the ascendant can influence or give like different hints of that rising sign. This also, from the perspective of karmic astrology, is our first breath of life, the way that we come to experience this incarnation. And then we have the nodes of karma. The nodes of karma are two mathematical points, the north and the south node. The north node of evolution, the south node of past life. This is the axis of evolution. And the south node will show past experiences, past lives, natural talents, even people, but it will also show what we need to release. On the other side, the North Node is a path of growth, our evolution, but also what is challenging for us, something that is new, something that is hard, something that our soul has not done yet. That's why the nodes of karma, this axis represents our life lessons, our soul's journeys, and these are the eclipses before our birth. And I put it in this part of learning to see our chart because our sun and moon are rising. It's ideal for us to understand. But when we put just this, the nodes of karma, it just gives so much more sense. And it gives like, it's really your north to understand, because sometimes even more than your sun, your moon, your south node is something that resonates deeply because it talks about your past lives. So this axis will guide us to our evolution by showing us what thing is very necessary for us to release. It's like the challenge of letting go our comfort zone and moving into the opportunities life will present to ourselves. So then your chart becomes this tool that reveals your potential. And I say potential because it's up to you. In astrology, we'll see polarities, the high vibration, the low vibration, the masculine polarity, the feminine polarity, the up and the down, you know, because we live in a dual universe. But we live in a dual universe that teaches us about unity. So the purpose is about unity. And then when you understand this, it's about your willpower. It's about how you use your potential and to weave it in the life that you want it to be. So whether you have like a challenging aspect or a challenging transit, the mindset in which you approach that situation can be actually of an amazing breakthrough. And of course, this will be for us, and I'm pretty sure that's why that this got you into astrology, to really change your ways, to change your destiny, because destiny is being changed all the time by our decisions. And our chart is that compass, that map that helps us. Okay, there will be a challenge here, but you have these tools there. And then it's magic because we understand, okay, this might take some time or this might happen, but I'm going to make it work. So having ended this part of the class, we're going to jump into the practical part. So this is a moment for questions. If anyone has a question. Not. We're going to jump into this. I use this program that is called Luna. Here in Luna, we have everything and super easy, but I think for you, because this is something that you have to pay, it will be easier for astro.com. For me, this is the most reliable page. It's free. You don't need anything. You can log in as a guest. You can also create an account for free. And we have like two parts here. Like, let's see. You can go straight to astro.com. You can put charts and calculations. Here we will see a chart drawing. I usually use the other one, but we're going to use me as an example. Name, okay. Date of birth, the time. The time is very important. If you don't have the time, you can try 6 a.m. That's usually like a normal rising time. But if you have the time, this will be much easier. Usually on a birth certificate, you can get the time, and there are tools to find out the time if you don't have like an exact time for someone or for yourself, because many times it happens. I work with a pendulum asking questions to get a range of time, and then we have the chart, and with the chart we can also ask rectification questions. That's like a whole other theme, not part of the class, but rectification questions about, like, for instance, Saturn transits. So this is for when you are an astrologer already. This is just for you to know that you can get the time even if a person doesn't have the time. The ideal would be, yes, you have the time, their mother knows, your mother knows, or it's in the birth certificate. But if not, like, you can text me, I can help you. So here we jump into a chart. In the chart, we see the 12 houses, the areas of life, the zodiac signs. The first line of every house, the separation, this line is called a cusp. The house, like for instance, third house, the cusp is here in Aquarius. So this is a house ruled by Aquarius. Sometimes the first times that you see a chart is like, okay, but there's a lot of Capricorn and a lot of Sagittarius. Which sign do I use? You always use the cusp. I use the Placidus system. There are different house systems. Placidus is like one of the most common, very accurate. And you, in a chart first, okay, I get the time, I have the information, I put it in the program, and then I see, okay, ascendant, Sagittarius, Sun, Virgo, here's the Sun, and you can also see, you'll have it here on the left side of the chart. Sun, Moon, Mercury, all the planets, where the Moon is, the degrees of the Sun. And in this house, we're not gonna check degrees because it's like a whole new thing. But then you have the chart. You have a rising sign in Sagittarius, sun in Virgo, moon in Gemini. And this every time, like for instance, fifth house, cusp, Aries. Here we have like a north node in Aries, but the north node, even if it's in Aries, no, it's not in the fifth house, it's in the fourth house. And then just by seeing this, you have like very important information, like for you to start applying the knowledge. Okay, they have a rising sign in Sagittarius. What does this mean? They have a sun in Virgo on the 10th house. What does this mean? They have a moon in Gemini on the 7th house. What does this mean? And they have a north node in the 4th house. The north node is always, always, always in opposition to the south node because it's an axis. So if they have the north node in Aries, they have a south node in Libra in the 10th house. And just by what you've learned in this class, you can start applying. So this is gonna be the practical part. So we're gonna ask questions. Who wants to reply? Okay, Ling asks, if our ascendant sign a past life indicator, for example, if you are a Scorpio rising, you may have had a past life in Scorpio. Okay, Ling, not necessarily. Like, remember the 12th house, that is the previous house of the first house, that is the house of the past life. So, for instance, if we go in this chart, my chart, we have 12 houses in Scorpio. Here we can say, okay, in their past lives, they've had Scorpio energy. Sometimes we have intercepted houses. Intercepted houses means that there is a house that rules that is a sign. There's a sign that rules two houses, and there's another sign that is intercepted, that is like nowhere. For instance, someone can have a Scorpio rising and a Scorpio 12th house. That person, yes, they would have a scorpionic, let's say, past lives. Going to your question, on the first house, not necessarily. On the 12th house, yes. Another indicator for past lives is the south node. Okay, Candice says, my mom wasn't sure, 100% sure on my time birth, and I'm too old for the certificate, so I've been using approximate time, but would really like to figure out exact time. Okay, perfect, Candice. So here, like in your case, we can do certain questions, like what time did this like at what time, at what age did this happen, at what age did you do this, and different things, and with that we can start rectifying your time of birth. So yeah, I'm gonna start asking questions. Maybe like, does anyone want to see their chart? And we will like ask questions. What do you think it means? We can do it with my chart, or someone can volunteer with their chart. I want this to be very practical because that way you will understand. Then use this next part of the class for that. Okay, perfect. Okay, someone directly said, like, what about Vedic astrology versus Western? Vedic astrology uses the sidereal system, and Western astrology uses the tropical system. Also, in Vedic astrology, they use fixed stars that are nakshatras. And so they are very different systems. You need to understand them from their perspective. A lot of people tend to mix up that, but I'm an Aries, and in Vedic, I'm a Pisces, and I don't understand. And what I say is, like, always try to use the language of your system. And when it's and both are very accurate when you use them in their language. For instance, if you use Vedic, see your nakshatras. Don't try to talk about it like with the tropical system. Okay, we're gonna see lean first. Um, 34. Atlanta. Oh my God, so many Atlantas. Atlanta, Georgia. Okay. Okay. So, who wants to start? This could be like easier. Like you can put your microphones and start. Who wants to talk about where is Lin's sun, moon, rising, north node, and let's say, what would you do to start reading their chart? And then I will start guiding you. First volunteer.
I would start with the ascendant, wouldn't you?
Yes.
So I'm trying to find, where is it one?
Okay, we have like an ascendant in.
Is that Scorpio?
Yes.
Yes.
What can you tell us about the ascendant in Scorpio?
So I'm trying to figure out what that planet is. It is oh, I can't see it. So oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we have ascendant in Scorpio. So we can say, for instance, like the ascendant is the first impression.
Mm-hmm.
Then Scorpio is a very deep sign, intuitive. And remember, I said like sometimes Scorpio, since it has a strong presence, like as a rising sign, it can be seen as a first impression as like, ooh, tough or like intimidating, or very close. But then, um, let's say where do they have the moon? They have the moon in Taurus.
Yeah.
It's more grounding, it's more maternal even. It's next to Ceres. And it's on the seventh house. The seventh house is the house of
Um so
relationships, of Libra. When we have a moon in the seventh house, it's a person that it's easy to connect emotionally with them. We see
Yeah.
them very empathetic. Um, it's people that are easy, they have it easy understanding people emotionally, to be on the same page. So we can say, and then see where do they have the sun.
Sun is in the 11th.
On the 11th, what is the 11th house?
So that's good fortune, community, friends.
Yes, friends, communities, groups. So if you see, even though Virgo and Taurus might be yin energy, more quiet, reserved, they're in social houses, 7th house relationships, 11th house groups of people, and they have a good aspect.
Mm.
This mix of Sun 11th house, Moon 7th house talks about a person that can have a lot of really good friends. That when you get to know them, they're like very easygoing, they understand you, you connect very easily, and they have like a nourishing group of friends. And it might feel very different than the rising sign in Scorpio, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if you see internally, oh, this is a very approachable person, but externally, sometimes the first impression might feel like, ooh, like I'm intimidated by them, or they are very deep. They have a lot of secrets for themselves, or they might be very tough on them. But then you know them, and they're very social. They do community work. They work with people. They like community work. Sun in Virgo on the 11th house, connected to the moon in the 7th house. So okay, so internally they are like super like connected to others, like sweeter, softer. Externally, they might be tough, no? But the the rising sign is also how you move through life and the way that your soul needs to ascend in this incarnation. So part of their journey is being constant evolution, constant transformation, to get to know themselves deeply, to let go of different versions of themselves. And then if we add just the North Node, where is the North Node? The North Node is,
Up there. That's not in Taurus though, is it? Is it's just going over into, is
yeah,
it
it's Taurus.
Gemini? Is
It's
that Gemini?
Taurus.
Oh, it
It's,
is Taurus. Okay. Okay.
yeah, yeah. You see, we have degree 29, degree 29,
Okay.
still degree 29, Taurus. There is a part that degree 29 already talks about Gemini, but there is a part of like Taurus. So degree 29 Taurus, where does it take us? Um, to degree 29 Scorpio. Scorpio as a south node talks about, okay, they bring also from past lives, Scorpio past lives. So going back to Lynn's question that was about a Scorpio rising can talk about past lives in Scorpio, not necessarily more Scorpio 12th house, but the Scorpio south node, yes. So in her case, we have past lives as a Scorpio, past experiences. So those past experiences of Scorpio are past experiences from different lifetimes of a person of power, a person that is managing resources from others, a person that is this in constant evolution, but a person that might have complicated her life a lot in connection of others. That's why in this lifetime, North Node in Taurus, remember Taurus. Taurus is okay, grounding, it's a stability, it's more nurturing. So her life purpose is about being present. No, stop complicating herself so much. It's more about being in her body, connecting to Taurus nature, to her senses, to what she can grasp in this present moment, to be more in tune with herself. And North Node in the 7th house, relationships. It means that in this lifetime, her soul wants her to have relationships, wants her to have connections. South Node in the 1st house, she's been alone, or she has this tendency of being overly independent. That's why this axis of So remember, first seventh house, axis of relationships. So this axis of relationship talks about, okay, her soul's journey is about relationships. Then going back to decipher her chart. Okay, she seems to be a person, sun in Virgo, moon in Taurus, very practical. Sun in the 11th house with a lot of friends, moon in the 7th house, also very approachable. But how does that add up with her nose also? Like that, maybe she's a person that she tends to sacrifice herself for others into thinking that that's what she has to do. But that might be her biased thinking of, I have to do this for them because this is my duty, because this is the way I'm going to have to transform myself, because this is me. And then unconsciously, I fall into complicating myself so much for others. But my purpose is actually about, no, it's about embracing what's good, being more present. Degree 29, this is for another class, but degree 29, it's also talks about this next sign, in this case Gemini. It's also about she learning to express herself in relationships, she learning to see others as equals and not someone better, or not herself better than someone, just horizontal relationships. How does that feel, Lynn? Do you feel it's aligned to what you see in your life? Okay, good. Resonates completely. So yeah, that's how, like, you see, just like seeing, you see how just the notes of karma gives a very important depth on the reading of the chart with just those three things. We didn't see anything else. Sun, moon, rising sign, where they are, and the note. And with that, you can understand, okay, and then you see how it really helps you understand. For instance, next week we have full moon in Taurus. It's going to be a full moon in Taurus. If we see it by mathematical degrees, it will be very close to Lin's moon, to Lin's north node, talking about a closure, full moon, a cycle. For since the last 6 months, Lynn started working into a process of seventh house of relationship, north node purpose, moon emotional fulfillment, which next week or the weeks around next week comes to a fulfillment. And that can be like that compass that you use in your life, that Google Maps, okay, there's this full moon coming that is telling me how have you been working in what you promised yourself to do 6 months ago, about your purpose, about your emotional fulfillment, about your relationships. And it's like that checkup. So who wants to go next? Oh, hey, we have Isabel. Okay. December 1st. '71. Germany.
I think you have to put the birth town again. Because there are different ones in Germany. So it's the third one. The third one. Yeah.
This.
Yeah.
Wait. I don't know, wait. This.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can change even if it's very close. sometimes I've seen charts that by half an hour or like some kilometers don't change, and some others they do really change. Okay, we have Isabel here. Who wants to go first? Who wants to say something about Isabel?
Isabel has a Pisces ascendant,
Yes.
a moon in Taurus,
Yes.
and a
Oh,
sun
wow.
in Sagittarius.
Yeah. Very interesting. 2 moons in Taurus in this class. So for two, so that's interesting also because next week we have a full moon in Taurus. So what can you tell me about Isabel's Pisces rising sign?
Pisces is, I think you said it's very spiritual, about endings, more in the formless. Some, I'm not sure how to apply that to the ascendant. Like, does that mean that she's quite spiritual?
It could be, yeah, and it's good that you mentioned that because Pisces is a very cryptic sign, is that sign of the limitless. So when it's on the rising sign and it's a first impression, it's an appearance, it also talks about a person that sometimes can be very hard to decipher. That Pisces is a sign that the sign of dreams, of illusions, and you will notice, and maybe Isabel can tell us how does she feel, how does it feel on her. But what I've seen in Pisces rising is like people have always different opinions about them, or they form an opinion of what they think they are. They have like they see them as an illusion, as a mirage, or this like make believe, or they expect them to be a certain way, and sometimes they're not, or sometimes they expect them to be super changing. You know, Pisces is a very changing sign, or they expect them to be like that. But for instance, we can see even that, okay, Pisces is a very mutable sign, but Taurus is more grounding. Here we can see there's a moon in Taurus, but Saturn is very close. Even if it's in Pisces, it's very close to the moon. Saturn is about limits, it's about structure. So we can say emotionally, okay, Isabel might be a person with a lot of limits. She has the moon on the second house. And in Taurus, she's a person that she likes to maybe save, or she likes to have security, but sometimes she might overwork herself, and sometimes she might like be constantly thinking about security or earning more. And there's this part that externally she might look Pisces. She might look like a person that is like all over the place, or she has a sun in Sagittarius. She might be a person that's always traveling. And a lot of people might have an impression on her that she's always traveling or doing this or changing that. But internally, she's like very structured. She likes her security. You know, how does Isabel feel with that?
Yeah, it resonates completely. It's exactly this way. I'm quite structured, and I like to have my safety, but people see me often the other way around. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, you see the start like first impression. Okay, you have Pisces.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
if we see the sun in Sagittarius next to Jupiter, the planet of Sagittarius in the ninth house, this is a very lucky placement. You know, the sun in the ninth house and Jupiter in the ninth house, we can say a person that life says there's opportunities for you when you grow, when you take a leap of faith, when you travel, and connected to the Pisces rising, people might see a lot from that. Like, wow, she's a person with a lot of luck, a lot of doors open to her. She's always traveling, but emotionally, her emotional process is Moon next to Saturn in second. Emotionally, she feels like, no, I have to do this, duty, this and that. They don't see the effort that it takes. Everyone sees this. You know, Isabel feels this.
Yeah, true. Completely true. Yeah.
And who can say something about the north node of Isabel?
It's in Aquarius in the 11th house,
Yes.
which the 11th house is like the house of community and friends and humanity. Which would then, I guess, mean her south node is in Leo in the 5th.
Yes. Good. That's very important, because the north node, we always have to think of the north node of one part of something. One part is the north node in Aquarius, but it's always connected to the south node. Okay, south node in Leo. We can say the purpose, her life's purpose, is about doing something humanitarian for groups of people. But that might also be the challenge, this lack of sense of belonging of her environment, this lack of sense of belonging of the place that she was born, of the people that were around her in her group of friends, that eventually will push her to do something for the collective. South Node in Leo, in past lives, a lot of Leo energy, a lot of creativity. South Node in the 5th house, a lot of situations that she had to deal as a child, 5th house. But sometimes, and she might fall into just what her own needs, or maybe if she has kids, in her kids' needs, and do things more about herself. But life will always push her to do, no, it's not just about your story or your things or your kids, it's about what you do with them. That is north node on the 11th house. It will always push Isabel into this energy of detachment of her own ego into purpose towards something bigger than herself. How does it feel for you, Isabel?
Yeah, it's also completely true. Yeah. It gives me goosebumps. Yeah, it's quite interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you see the notes and they, wow, it's like
Yeah.
a huge depth into the chart. Because like, yeah, we can say like, for instance, like Isabel might say like, yes, I'm a Sagittarius, Pisces rising, and a lot of people might have like a preconception on that. But okay, but they don't know Moon, second house Saturn, South Node in Leo, North Node, especially in Aquarius. Like, okay, wow, her challenges are much different what I thought her life is. You see, the 9th house and the 10th house are houses that are very up in the sky, very public houses. So a lot of people might have an impression of Isabel, of her career, of her reputation, of her traveling, of her looks. But in reality, she works in something deeper than that.
True. Yeah.
Okay, so who do we have next?
Thank you. Both.
Okay, we can do. We have iPhone 164. I don't know who iPhone 164 is. Or we have no name on an iPhone 164. Or not, but let's do Candice, that we have her name. September 30. Pretoria, South Africa.
Yes.
Okay. Here we have Who wants to start? Wants to say something about Candice's chart?
An Aquarius rising, a sun in Libra, and a moon in Libra.
Yes, Sun and Moon in Libra.
There's a lot going on in Libra.
Yeah. In Sun and Moon Libra in the 9th house. So here, unless Candice's time is much different, like for instance, 1 a.m. in the morning, she was born on a new moon. Being born on a new moon is quite special. Not many people are born on a new moon. It's very common for people to be born on a full moon, since the moon rules water. Like there's a lot of births on a full moon, but on a new moon, like the energy is much softer. Sun consciousness, moon unconscious together is a chart that talks about beginnings. Very special new moon because it's in the first big degree of Libra. So being born on a new moon talks about a life full of beginnings. You know, what we need to understand sometimes when we are born on a new moon is like we love beginning things. Sometimes we then get bored very easily. We begin this, we start that, and then we have to also pursue what we began. But what can someone say about of her rising sign in Aquarius in comparison of her planets in Libra in the 9th house? No one? Anyone want to jump in?
So Libra is the sign of partnership, but it's in the 9th house, which is that like higher learning and travel and I guess like the common theme that I see from the Aquarius with the Libra is like more of like we, so partnership.
Yeah, it could be like there's like a strong connection to others. We can also say, okay, there's a predominance on air. Air is mind, so she would be a very mental person, a person that likes understanding things. Externally, we see an Aquarius rising that she might be a person that on the outside, so she might appear very cool and always doing something new and very outgoing. But in the internal self, like so many plants in Libra, but actually she's actually very thoughtful of the other. Being born on a new moon has a lot of Cancer energy, so she might be so much more sensitive than people think of her. Actually, when we're born even on a new moon, so there is a part of us that might be a bit less social, but because we need more of our me time. But externally, she might be, or she might present herself very outgoing, that she doesn't care about anything. Internally, she cares about everything. She feels a lot, and she can. All those plans in Libra in the 9th house can potentially talk about, as you mentioned, of like growth through relationships, traveling on other lands, like studying abroad or moving to another country with someone else. And this, especially so many planets on the 9th house, can also mean, okay, maybe she's a person that she's traveled a lot, is a person that she's always traveling, or she lives abroad, moon on the 9th house, or she's a person that's always like wanting more. But what can we say about the nodes? Have you noticed? No node in Scorpio. So then South Node in Taurus, South Node in the 4th house, North Node in the 10th house. South Node in Taurus, okay, there is a strong attachment to stability. South Node in the 4th house, there is a strong attachment to home, to her family, to her past. But North Node in Scorpio, life said, no, you need to transform yourself. You need to pursue your passion. North Node in the 10th house, you need to pursue your career. So sometimes we see these planets in the 9th house like, oh, a person that had it easy to travel abroad. But in her case, maybe no, it was challenging. She needed to detach from her family. Like her family could have felt like a strong weight on her. And her process of evolution was like, no, I need to do this for myself. And then we will see the planets in the 9th house when she falls into this process of growth. It might not be like as easy as like someone else can see from the outside perspective. Oh, she's a super relaxed person, super cool. Like she's always doing something new. Like no, we see her notes. Maybe her journey was not so easy. She needed to like cut the ties and really do it for herself and for her growth and change the ways of her family maybe to really open to this growth that maybe other people see like very natural of her. Does this resonate with you, Candice?
My God, it's absurdly accurate. I left South Africa in '99 and moved to London, away from my parents. They moved to the US. And last year I moved here to the US. So the nomadic sort of moving around thing is so spot on. And it was definitely to separate from them and find my own way. So it's insanely accurate. I was just laughing when you were talking about the moving to different countries. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So then you see how like wow, like you understand one thing, you understand another, but then you put the notes and it's like, wow, this is such a strong energy. So for the ones that took my previous class, the notes of karma, you can use that information of that class with the information of this one. And you start like saying, okay, this axis will be so interesting to study in your chart or in the chart of the people around you, because it talks about something really deeper, the soul's journey. Beyond this, because like, okay, yeah, we see the planets, maybe people that know Candice, of course, it's traveling, of course, it's that, but they didn't see how difficult it was for her. How transformative it was for her, how challenging it was for her to do that. You know, now we can see this. You know, and then with the eclipses moving, you know, like we've had the South Node moving through Libra, and Candice, she just said, oh, she moved again. She moved to the US and see all her planets in Libra and her 9th house, the South Node moving. That's also about when you have eclipses on the 9th and 3rd house, you're moving countries. When you have eclipses and your planets fall, you're letting go of an old identity and old sense of security, old attachment. It's like, so probably Candice, like since last year, she's had quite a journey. You know?
Yeah, it's been real.
Yeah. So this is why I really encourage you to like practice this, like open, get your chart, get your brother's sister's chart, your best friend, and then like, because astrology takes practice to integrate, and the first one that will be easier to integrate, it will be yours, because you know your life, and then you will understand, oh yes, I have this sign in this house. I connect to the energy of the sign, connect to the energy of the house, and I start like, okay, this means this means that. And then, for instance, as I said, like, okay, there's a full moon in Taurus coming. For Candice, where does the full moon in Taurus fall? 4th house, home. This is a closure of something that started 6 months ago regarding home, family, So like during this time, she's living this closure of a change of stability in home. So probably the cycle of she moving to the US would have already started like 6 months ago, or she's moving homes again. Like you understand. And this week is giving us emotional moon information and emotional closure about this axis. 10th house career success, 4th house home family, Taurus stability. And then it really becomes your compass to know how to dive yourself, to guide yourself through the collective energy.
Yeah, that's spot on, because I'm gonna be moving again.
Is it? But surgery for me, it's like what got me to it. You cannot make this up. It's so funny sometimes, and it's fascinating. And the deeper you go, the deeper things you will find out. Unfortunately, our time is over, but I will leave you with this: how, like, again, your chart reveals your potential, but then it becomes your will to weave really the life that you want to have. um Later, I will start, like, you can also send me text if you like the class. Of course, if you like the class, you can share something on social media. I would really appreciate it. You will get this recording to your email soon, so you can download it and have it, rewatch it. You'll get the slides also. And then I will start doing like deeper classes. Like now that we have like the bird chart, that is the first, we'll have just one class for the zodiac, because there's so much information for the planets and so on. And then we'll start like building up with more things for you to get to know your chart, your planets, your placements better. And for everyone that joined the class, you will get 25% discount on your next booking. What I think, like, that's it. Love that you sign up for the class. Hope to see you in the next, or maybe in a session. You can always DM me on Instagram, let me know what did you like the class, what do you like to see next class, and so on. Anything that helps, I would really appreciate it. Thank you everyone. Bye, take care.